This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Breakthrough. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast.
We need to figure it out as a country. Get it together.
And it seems like D.C. lawmakers have finally gotten that message.
It's now only a matter of time before the government shutdown is over.
Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill says a deal's been reached in the U.S. Senate to end the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
52 Republicans and 8 Democrats teamed up to greenlight the bill.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer opposed the bill because it did not address health care subsidies. Republicans have promised to take that up at a later date.
This health care crisis is so severe, so urgent, so devastating for families back home that I cannot in good faith support this CR that fails to address the health care crisis.
GOP strategist Jason Miller.
This entire shutdown was unnecessary. It was unneeded. And the only reason why it happened is because Senator Chuck Schumer and other Senate Democrats are scared to death at the extremist wing of their party, the AOCs, and they're worried they're going to get primary challenges.
Despite the breakthrough, it will be a while before it's back to business at the airports. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says clearing the backlog of flights will take some time.
2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle. We have a number of people who want to get home for the holidays. They want to see their family. They want to celebrate this great American holiday. Listen, many of them are not going to be able to get on an airplane.
The nation's busiest airports have been scaling back flights due to a shortage of workers caused by the shutdown. Last night's deal in the U.S. Senate must be reconciled with a House version before the government shutdown officially ends. The other big story, the weather. The wets turned white in parts of western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. Snowfall totals will range from 3 to 6 inches by the end of today near Buffalo. Further south, the Chautauqua Ridge could pick up 6 to 9 inches, with the rest of the Twin Tiers seeing 2 to 4. A lake snow warning's in effect until tomorrow afternoon for Erie County, Pennsylvania. President Trump hosting Syria's new president, a former al-Qaeda leader, at the White House today. Margaret Brennan with CBS's Face the Nation.
Until this month, Ahmed al-Sharaa was a designated global terrorist by the international community. The United Nations just lifted the sanctions off of him and some key members of his government. They are now running Syria.
The 42-year-old rebel-turned-ruler's trip to D.C. is one for the record books. Never before has a head of state from Syria officially visited the White House. President Trump says he plans to give every American a $2,000 rebate check as a result of the billions collected in tariff revenue. Such a proposal would likely need congressional approval. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the tariff revenue should be used to pay down the $38 trillion national debt. Another cheating scandal has rocked professional sports.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Correspondent Heather Bosch.
Cleveland Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz have been indicted for allegedly taking bribes to give gamblers advance notice of the types of pitches they would throw. It's alleged that they would intentionally toss balls instead of strikes to ensure successful bets. Both have been on paid leave since July while being investigated. If convicted, they could spend decades in prison.
Outkicks Clay Travis.
Sports and gambling have always been intertwined. I think what's changing now is we may be aware of what has been going on behind closed doors that wasn't recognized. And if anything, I tend to think that athletes are all on notice now, coaches too.
Last month, a sports betting ring linked to the mob cast a black eye on the NBA. Couple passings in professional sports worth mentioning. We'll begin with former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. The 84-year-old was instrumental in upping the salaries of today's players. Tagliabue served as commissioner for 17 years. Also being remembered today, Basketball Hall of Famer Lenny Wilkens. He died at the age of 88. Wilkens was the NBA's third all-time time winningest coach. 50 years ago today, November 10th, 1975, a storm sunk an infamous ship. The Edmund Fitzgerald sank to the bottom of Lake Superior. All 29 on board died. Their bodies were never recovered. That 730-foot vessel still lies beneath 530 feet of water to this day. The maritime disaster inspired the following folk song from Canadian songwriter Gordon Lightfoot.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi.
The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald 50 years ago today. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Monday. Costly defeat for the Bills in Miami. Food banks bracing for extra business. And area youth honors vets.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams, tracking some winter weather in our region. I'll have the latest coming up in 10 minutes.
All right, Kevin, we will see you then. Let's check the stories making news where you live. All across New York and Pennsylvania was a rough Week 10 of the NFL. For 3 of the 4 regional professional football teams, only the Jets emerged victorious. The Giants, Steelers, and Bills all went down in defeat. Family Life's Dee Haley has more on the Bills' 30-13 shellacking at the hands of the Miami Dolphins.
The Bills went in as favorites but could not get ahead of the Dolphins and did not even score until the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, 4 Buffalo Bills, including quarterback Josh Allen, faced NFL fines following last week's victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL docked Allen $14,491 for unsportsmanlike conduct after the league said he made a violent gesture. Next up for the Bills, the team will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. Game time is 1 p.m. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
Thank you, Dee. Hopefully they'll right that ship before next week. Randy will have a recap on all the action coming up in sports. Plenty of action in the U.S. Senate last night. As mentioned earlier, 8 Democrats joined 52 Republicans to support a plan to end the government shutdown. Both of New York's U.S. senators voted no. Both of Pennsylvania's voted yes, including Democrat John Fetterman. He said it never should have come to this, and he blames Democrats for overplaying their hand here.
America people are not leverage, and it's not about a political game. It's like who's winning, who's losing. America loses.
Fetterman's broken with his party to vote in favor of the funding measure all 15 times that it's been raised in the Senate during the 41-day government shutdown. A Sunday morning house fire in Indiana County, PA, has taken the lives of 2 juveniles. Fire crews dispatched to a home in Buffington Township shortly before 2:30 a.m. The ages of the victims, 12 and 14. 3 others managed to escape the fire. No word yet on the cause. It's been a tough month for food banks amid the ongoing government shutdown, which hopefully will be ending soon.
The general consensus is that food pantries in specific, the amount of people walking in those doors have tripled easily since this shutdown.
That's Lindsay Fry, a volunteer at food pantries in Cortland and Cayuga counties in central New York.
Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away, and my fear is that even if these funds are released within the next few days, there is still no guarantee that those funds are actually going to hit where they need to be by Thanksgiving. We're in a time crunch now.
She says, unfortunately, emergency aid is often subject to a lot of bureaucratic red tape.
Well, I think what people just aren't fully understanding is that even if these things are green-lighted, even if this contingency fund is released today, and in New York State, the governor has also said she's going to release $60 million, even if both of those things happen today, I think what people are not understanding is that even that will not be enough.
Fry adds those contingency funds will translate into just $20 a month for families in need, not enough to alleviate food insecurity. She says food banks are ill-equipped to accommodate the extra business of late because of the government shutdown.
Certain counties struggle more than others. I've worked within both Cortland and Cayuga County in specific. Cortland seems to be in better shape because they actually have a local warehouse that they can distribute to each of their pantries, whereas in Cayuga County, they really don't have anything that's solid.
That's Lindsay Fry, a volunteer at food pantries in central New York. 2 teenagers from Steuben County, New York, were killed over the weekend in a car crash. Their vehicle hit a utility pole in the town of Wellsville. That's in Allegheny County. The accident happened early Saturday. 17-year-old Derek Smith and 18-year-old Gavin Odell, both from Canasteo, were passengers in the SUV. 4 others in the vehicle suffered minor injuries, including the 17-year-old driver. Police say there were no signs of impairment and that the accident happened because the driver failed to negotiate a sharp turn in the road. Western New York Congressman Joe Morelli is sponsoring a bill that would safeguard the protection of your local mailman or mailwoman. His legislation increases penalties for those convicted of attacking postal carriers.
This should be a real priority if people care about continuing the 250-year tradition of a postal service that people rely on.
Rochester, New York postal carrier Monique Mate.
It's a job that you shouldn't fear. You think of the letter carrier. I mean, we talking about the post office and how it works, and it was never a job that you feared for your life. You actually were always part of the neighborhood. We always felt like we were part of the neighborhood.
In September alone, 5 mail carriers in Rochester were attacked. Morelli's Protect Our Letter Carriers Act would treat an assault on the U.S. Postal Service just like an attack on a police officer. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and local students are pitching in to show their appreciation to those who've served in the armed forces. Students at GST BOCES in New York Southern Tier recently handed out free lunches to members of the military during a drive-by parade.
I think veterans should be celebrated, more than they do.
That's Hannah Joy Rohr, a student at GST BOCES in Horseheads. Meantime, middle schoolers at the Windsor School District in Broome County baked muffins and wrote thank you notes for the vets.
The main thing I've always tried to teach our students is to give back as much as you possibly can.
Jessica Swingle is a teacher at Windsor Central and oversaw that Veterans Day appreciation effort. Her own son will be joining the Navy next month. We've got sports up next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, what happened to the team that beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week? They were certainly not on the field yesterday in Miami as the Dolphins put it to the Bills 30-13. Devon Achane rushed for close to 180 yards and scored twice as Buffalo's defense gave up big plays on the ground. On offense, Josh Allen threw for 2 touchdowns, but he turned the ball over twice, once on a pick, once on a fumble. The loss snaps a 2-game winning streak for Buffalo. Look at the New York Jets. They have won 2 in a row, taking out the Browns 27-20. Special teams, huge for New York in this one. A 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. A 74-yard punt return for a touchdown. Breece Hall also caught a 42-yard touchdown pass from Justin Fields. Jets now 2-7. In Los Angeles, the Chargers went on a 25-0 run after spotting the game's first 3 points to the Steelers. 25-10 the final. The Giants, they had a 20-10 lead with 10 minutes to play, but the Bears changed that, scoring the game's final 14 points. 24-20 the final. Other winners in the NFL, the Colts, Ravens, Saints, Patriots, Texans, Seahawks, Rams, and Lions. In the NBA, the Knicks are still perfect at home. Karl Anthony Towns picked up a double-double. He had 28 points and 12 boards. The Knicks topped the Nets easily, 134-98. The Rockets, Celtics, Thunder, Pistons, Warriors, and T-Wolves, your other winners. And on the ice, the Kings got the better of the Pens, 3-2. Chicago, Dallas, Ottawa, Carolina, Minnesota, Colorado, and Winnipeg also skated to victories. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Monday. A deal in sight to end the shutdown. Wintry weather to start the work week. And at the end of our broadcast, in search of Noah's Ark.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street. After his amazing victory on Mount Carmel against the prophets of Baal, Elijah fell into a deep depression. Not only had he seen God work in a miraculous way, he had proven before Israel who was the one true God. And yet, almost immediately, Elijah questioned whether God could protect him from Jezebel, and he falsely believed he was the only true prophet left in Israel. As he put it, quote, "I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." Now, there's a whole lot we can learn from this story about the vulnerabilities of humans and the kindness of God. For example, I love that the author of 1 Kings includes the detail that God sent an angel to Elijah to help him first sleep and then cook him food. Also, by informing Elijah of the 7,000 people in Israel who had not bowed a knee to Baal, God was reminding Elijah that he was still very much at work in the world and that he primarily works through his people. God has his people everywhere. In fact, often he uses unlikely candidates to be courageous voices of truth. The new film Truth Rising tells the stories of 5 courageous voices in this civilizational moment. As a young teenager, Chloe Cole was so completely lost and deceived about who she was, she underwent a double mastectomy, attempting to become male. God worked in her life to reveal what was true about who she is. And now, having detransitioned, Chloe advocates for the truth that humans are made in God's image, male and female. She is a powerful voice, pushing back against serious darkness. The story of Seth Dillon and the Babylon Bee might be the political headline of the last decade. First, the popular and funny satirical website was canceled from one of their most powerful channels of influence for saying something that was true. Committed, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn put it, to live not by lies, Seth refused to take the shortcut around the truth. But God was at work, and how that story turned out shocked everyone. My friend Katie Faust was a pastor's wife in the Northwest with an anonymous blog. She spoke truth about an ideology that subjects children to the whims of adult desires. Then Katie was outed by someone who threatened her and her entire church community. How God used that incident to make Katie a leading champion for the rights and well-being of children worldwide is absolutely incredible. And speaking of courage, that's not typically a required qualification of bakers, but it was for Jack Phillips. One afternoon, Jack took a stand when asked to design a cake with a message that was not true. That stand led to 13 years of attacks by the state of Colorado and one of the most consequential First Amendment wins of our lifetime. And also a whole lot of people coming to Christ. Again, here, God was at work. Perhaps best known among the 5 stories told in Truth Rising is that of Ayaan Hirsi Ali, whose faith journey has taken her from Islam to atheism to Christ. An activist, political leader, and author, Ayaan has now found the freedom that she was always looking for. And she believes deeply that God has placed her as a truth teller in this crucial cultural moment. And that's exactly what she's doing. These 5 stories of courage are fully told in the Truth Rising documentary. What's obvious in each and every one is how God is at work through his people, just as much today as he was with Elijah after Mount Carmel. We are not alone. Rather, we have been called to this time and this place by God. You can stream Truth Rising today for free by going to truthrising.com/Colson. That's truthrising.com/Colson. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street.
Thank you, John. Let's head outside. Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast. Our call for today, mainly cloudy, brisk, and cold. Anyone is subject to scattered flurries and light rain showers, but there'll be some heavier snow showers in the snowbelt areas, could deposit an inch. High temps 30s to low 40s. Tonight and tomorrow, lake effect snows will accumulate several inches in areas to the east and southeast of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario in the belts. Outside the belts, it'll be variably cloudy with some snow flurries. Low temperatures tonight, 20s. High temperatures tomorrow in the 30s to near 40.
All right, looking like a little bit of a winter wonderland and out there at times today. Thank you, Kevin. It is Monday, folks, the 10th of November, and this is the Noon Report. Here's what's going on. The U.S. Senate's just voted to end the government shutdown after 8 Democrats crossed party lines last night to support a Republican-led effort that would fund Uncle Sam through the end of January. Senate Majority Leader John Thune.
I'm optimistic that after almost 6 weeks of this shutdown, we'll finally be able to end it.
Still, many Democrats are upset more wasn't done to extend health care subsidies. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse.
Lawmakers will tackle those health care subsidies next month once the government is back in business. Correspondent Madeline Rivera.
It will take a few more days before the government reopens, but Sunday's vote was the first clear sign that a bipartisan deal had been reached after a roughly 40-day stalemate.
The spending plan agreed to last night provides emergency assistance to food programs and veteran services through the end of September, and as we mentioned, will fund the government through the end of January. Despite the deal to end the shutdown, the gridlock continues at the airports. There were 10,000 flight delays yesterday. This passenger at LAX waited for hours to catch a flight.
The impact that this is having on everybody is just a nightmare.
It's unclear if FAA-ordered flight restrictions will change, with word that the shutdown might be ending soon. Another alleged gambling scandal is rocking professional sports. 2 Major League Baseball players are accused of rigging pitches in an elaborate betting scheme. NBC's Emily Aketa.
2 pitchers for the Cleveland Guardians, Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, are facing federal charges for allegedly throwing balls instead of strikes and slower pitches on purpose so others could place bets on their performances. It comes as the spotlight on illegal sports betting intensifies.
Those pitchers both face decades behind bars if convicted. They've been suspended from play since the summer. One of them, a 3-time All-Star, allegedly used a cell phone during games to coordinate with bettors in his home country of the Dominican Republic. An historic White House visit today. The rebel-turned-ruler of Syria is the guest of President Trump. The 42-year-old's a former al-Qaeda operative. It's the first time ever that a head of state from Syria has been hosted at the White House. Big health news today. Nationwide baby formula recall's been issued. Comes after babies in 10 states contracted botulism. Here's Sarah Lee Kessler.
The FDA is warning parents that 13 babies got sick and needed to be hospitalized after drinking By Heart Whole Nutrition infant formula. Infant botulism is a rare illness that can be fatal, but the FDA says no deaths have been reported. The impacted states include New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Arizona, California, Illinois, Minnesota, Oregon, Rhode Island, Texas, and Washington. By Heart Whole Nutrition, based in New York, issued a voluntary recall for 2 different infant formula lots with December 1st, 2026 use-by dates. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
Thank you, Sarah. Just in time for Thanksgiving, turkey prices are on the rise. Expect to pay about 40% more than last year. The Farm Bureau blames supply problems caused by an outbreak of bird flu. You're tuned in to the Noon Report, a Monday edition on Family Life. And welcome back to another edition of Issues in Education. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight the issues impacting our schools with Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute in Houghton, New York. The guy who puts the edge in education. How do you like that one?
Ooh, boy, that's terrific.
I had to think long and hard on that one. But hey, lots to get to today. The New York State Board of Regents, you may have heard, is out with the second phase of the new graduation requirements. It's now mandating coursework in personal finance and climate science, whatever that is. How is this going to be implemented, Ralph, and how long will schools have to realign their curriculum for this?
Well, this is a really big deal in the state of New York. It's called the Portrait of a Graduate. This is going to just dominate education in New York over the next few years. The finance course was mandated by legislation last year, which is really, I think, a good thing. And then the climate science course is one that is under this new Portrait of a Graduate. So they're important courses. Kind of stumble as you do over what's included in the climate science.
Yeah.
But the real change for this is going to happen in the year 27, 28. The old Regents exams, which most of us who were in New York took, is only going to be a partial requirement, and in some cases students won't need to take them at all because local districts are going to be developing other criteria that will meet the Portrait of the Graduate, and that will be really, really a big deal.
And overall, you approve of these changes as phasing out of the Regents exams, correct?
Well, I do, because I think there are things within the Regents exams that many students now just are, I don't want to say not capable of, but they really are pressed in terms of their interest.
Sure.
Just to give you one quick example, foreign language requirement. I happen to take French. I don't know what language you took.
It was
but
French, too. It was all French to me, Ralph.
Well, I never could figure out why that was important, but now I know, because often in my crossword puzzle each day, there is a reference to something in French, and I say, well, thank God that I had to take French.
There you go. School. That was worth it. Made it all worth it there. Let's head across the border to Pennsylvania. Last week, Governor Shapiro signed Senate Bill 246, and what it does basically is it requires schools to inform parents whenever there's a weapons-related incident on school grounds. Seems like a no-brainer to me, but any reason to oppose a law like this?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, parents need to be in the loop in all of this kind of stuff, and certainly with guns or weapons being in school, there would be all kinds of rumors that would be exposed. So why not give parents and others related to the students the facts so that they can deal with them rather than hide any of this? I think it's a great bill, and I'm pleased that the governor signed it.
Yep, and that'll take effect in 2 months. So moving on. Dropout rates, Ralph, you write about this a lot in your books. In high school, they are improving. The last figure I saw shows it around 5%. Still, that's 2 million kids every year who quit school early. What are districts doing to improve dropout rates? And are you satisfied with where we're at right now?
Well, I'm not satisfied with a 5% rate, which is what it is, although it is better than it was a few years ago. But there are serious consequences for the dropouts and for society in general. I mean, the dropout's going to face lower lifetime earnings. There's higher unemployment. There's greater reliance on public support. So districts need to be watching for early warning signs. Like if a student in elementary or middle school is having a lot of absence, that should be a key, for one thing, that the districts need to really dig in and find out what's going on. In some schools that are really, really big, they're making schools within schools, which will help them to focus on students who, again, may be absent or they can see are really struggling. And then going back to the Portrait of a Student, this is really all about alternative pathways to diploma.
Yeah.
And I think in some cases that will really help students who might otherwise drop out.
Yeah, trade schools, those kinds of things are wonderful alternatives for kids, because college ain't for everyone. And we need those other jobs as well. And then finally, if you're looking outside right now, maybe you're seeing a little snow first time this season. We have to have the old snow day conversation. Got to ask this because a lot of times it seems to be a very arbitrary decision. For those of us on the outside looking in, hey, I can be in a town right next to another town. They canceled school, but this district, it's still business as usual. Talk about the decision making that goes on when you have snow days, which we will have maybe a few of them over the next few months.
Well, here's how the decision is made. Flip a coin. If it's heads, you give a snow day. If it's tails,
how did I know you'd say that?
Actually, in one of the articles that I wrote, I call it the superintendent's dilemma.
Yeah.
And this is one of the decisions that I'm glad that I'm retired, that I don't have to make anymore, because it doesn't matter which way you go in the decision, it's going to be wrong to somebody.
Yeah.
I did come up with some solutions, though, for superintendents, and that would be, for one thing, to move to the south, because then they don't have to worry about it.
I love
or if we could just have snow know, just on Saturdays, that would make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But really what happens is the superintendents, most of them, end up being up overnight, some talking with their highway superintendents, talking with the state police, talking with people that know the conditions of the roads, and then make a decision. And it is really a flip of the coin, and it can vary, as you said, from one district to another. Mm-hmm. But I would ask that as we head into this, that people would realize that this is one of the toughest decisions that superintendents make, and they don't have it in for anybody one way or the other when they make it. But you can figure out a way to make the decision right every time, then please pass that information on to your local school superintendent.
There you go. And again, that snow just on Saturday thing, we'll check with Kevin Williams and see if he can work something out for us there. But hey, if you have questions about any of the topics discussed on this program today, or you simply want to learn more about the Teaching and Learning Institute, the good work that Ralph does there in Western New York, where can folks find you online, sir?
They can simply go to yrun.org, yrun.org.
All right, always fun to hang out with Dr. Kerr on Mondays during the Noon Report. It's Issues in Education. You can download today's program as well online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or our website, familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A system that brought our region a cold rain, then some areas snow, is departing but intensifying in so doing, and it'll increase the wind, wrap around unusually cold air for this time of year, and lake effect snows will result. Here's our call for today: mainly cloudy, brisk, and cold. Anyone is subject to scattered flurries and light rain showers, especially the rain showers in central and eastern Pennsylvania, hit miss. But there'll be some heavier snow showers in the snowbelt areas, could deposit an inch. High temps 30s to low 40s. Tonight and tomorrow, lake effect snows will accumulate several inches in areas to the east and southeast of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario in the belts. Outside the belts, it'll be variably cloudy with some snow flurries. Low temperatures tonight, 20s. High temperatures tomorrow in the 30s to near 40.
All right, lots to consider weather-wise. Thank you, Kevin. Finally, from us today at noon, in search of Noah's Ark. They've been searching for a while. Archaeologists have more reason to believe that a ship-shaped plateau in the shadow of Mount Ararat in northeastern Turkey is indeed the final resting place of the biblical boat. Christian researcher Andrew Jones says the dimensions match.
In chapter 6 of Genesis, it talks about a 300-cubit long boat. And that, if you use the Egyptian cubit, is 515 feet long, or about 157 meters. And that's exactly the length of this boat-shaped object.
How about that? The shape of a ship emerged in that part of Turkey after an earthquake near Mount Ararat in the 1940s. New ground-penetrating radar shows a network of tunnels in the mound of dirt where biblical scholars believe is the final resting place of Noah's Ark. Experts plan to drill about 100 feet into the ground there to see what is contained in that network of tunnels. And that's our world, the world we live in. Monday, November 10th. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.